It's true, the Harris interview did feel like a very special episode of Oprah, but instead of everybody getting a new car, everybody got an aneurysm.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as Like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like, you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
I mean, it's
Greg Gutfeld and Joe Rogan just flipped the script on Oprah in a takedown so sharp it made headlines blink. With wit, fire, and zero fear, they tore through the glossy image and exposed what no one dared to say out loud. The charm, the empire, the aura, all under fire. What happened was not just a roast, it was a reckoning. Oprah never saw it coming, and now the entire narrative is unraveling in the most jaw-dropping way imaginable.
She also brought us Dr. Oz and The Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
I forgive her, but I mean, cut the shit. The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
What, you don't believe?
You
don't believe?
Oh, believe? Believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I take off.
Greg Gutfeld did not come to play. He came to peel back layers, and Oprah just happened to be the latest glossy page in his book of roast-worthy legends. If there's one thing Greg does better than deliver a punchline, it's aim that punchline with surgical precision. And when he turned his satirical scalpel toward the house that Oprah built, he did not miss a single brick.
A list of favorite things, and as usual, there are lots of expensive stuff. $1,000 pizza oven, $590 drip coffee maker, $80 of luxury salt. Sadly, no proposal from Stedman. Kat, do you think she went over this first to make sure it wasn't too extravagant?
What's up?
Yeah.
It was one of the more I want to say disturbing, but it was confusing when that was taking hold with people. When I had friends that were telling me that The Secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about whatever, being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would be. There's a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that The Secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs, they put pictures up of the things that they wanted, like them in front of large crowds and shit. And I'm like, oh boy.
It started as a passing jab, one of those blink and you miss it comments, wrapped in clever wordplay and sarcastic charm, but soon it became clear that this wasn't a drive-by roast. This was a full-on detour into the empire of America's most beloved TV monarch, and Greg was driving a bulldozer.
Oprah is actually suggesting that I think you're like, listen, what do you say? Like, this made me think of you. You're probably not going to be alive much longer. Merry Christmas. Oprah, if she did go over this, she is a sick.
Yeah.
He began by dismantling the mythology, the Oprah Winfrey aura, that larger-than-life image crafted over decades of book clubs, car giveaways, and over-the-top sob stories where the tears were as predictable as the product placements. Greg zoomed in on the transformation of Oprah from talk show host to spiritual guru, billionaire tycoon, and self-help high priestess. Let's just say he wasn't buying what she was selling.
Did you see the Oprah interview?
No.
She's off the rails.
Yeah,
Off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
He poked holes in the image of humility that Oprah so carefully stitched together. He pointed out how someone who made their fortune convincing people she was just like them somehow ended up living in a $100 million estate with a private avocado orchard. Because nothing screams relatability like deciding you're too famous to shop at Target, but still telling people to believe in themselves with a motivational quote printed on a throw pill.
You got cheese, you got pizza.
Barry, I'm going to stop you there.
Yes.
I treat this like the list I get from my kids. They send me emails because they know when I laugh in their face, it hurts. Anyone who wants a $1,000 pizza oven, you're gonna get what Kat picked out. Like, that's the greatest gift you can give somebody because you can't return it. Because returning it, oh, you think you're immortal? You think you're better than us? Like, get your affairs in order. That's the great, you stole the show. They wanted me to talk about a dog towel. That towel's a towel. Great job, that's the best gift ever, and Oprah has never read this, just like I don't read the list from my kids sent me.
Greg also rolled his eyes at the way Oprah became the final word on everything: health, politics, religion, interior design. At one point, she could have endorsed a brand of shoelaces and made it a top seller on Amazon. And that power, Greg argued, wasn't inspiring anymore. It was bloated. He called it influence inflation. The idea that if Oprah said the sky was green, half the nation would repaint their roofs to match. Then came the part that had people clutching their pearls. Greg took aim at Oprah's ever-expanding inner circle of celebrity disciples. The flock of famous faces who hang on to her every word as if she were the Dalai Lama of daytime TV. He questioned how someone who championed authenticity ended up surrounded by the most media-trained, brand-polished phonies in the game. It was like building a house of truth and inviting only holograms to live in it. While Greg was busy dissecting the Oprah brand under a microscope, Joe Rogan took a different approach. If Greg was the scalpel, Joe was the sledgehammer. Rogan's roast wasn't delicate, it was explosive. The kind that leaves a dent in the wall and makes everyone wonder if the house is still standing.
Bro, you remember the time Oprah had that lady on, its face bit off by the chimp?
Stay there.
And she showed her face on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Miraculously, she survived just the unimaginable. Her name is Charla Nash. Charla almost always covers her face with the hat and scarf. She wears it, she says, because she doesn't want to scare people.
The lady was wearing a veil over her face, like, let's see your face, come on. She pulls the veil away.
Like a Nope?
What are you doing?
Would you mind lifting the veil?
Oh, no.
So we can see?
You could take the hat off.
Oh, the hat comes off.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Joe kicked things off by laughing at the level of worship Oprah receives. He joked about how people talk about her as if she invented kindness or was the first person to discover pain and healing. According to Joe, she's not Moses leading people out of Egypt. She's a talk show host who figured out how to monetize vulnerability. That's it, but the way she's revered, you'd think she was taking confessions and healing the blind. Then Joe brought up Oprah's most questionable moves: the public endorsements, the wellness fads, the self-help circus that exploded under her watch. He ranted about how she turned pseudoscience into a brand and marketed enlightenment like it was a discount blender on Black Friday. To him, Oprah wasn't just an icon, she was a one-woman marketing machine dressed up as a messiah. He also drilled into the contradictions. How someone who preaches gratitude and humility ends up running a media empire that profits off trauma. How someone who talks about self-love on one hand platforms diet culture on the other. Joe argued that Oprah mastered the art of selling you your own insecurities, then selling you the cure, then writing a book about how she overcame it. Of course, Joe couldn't resist mentioning the sheer wealth, the billions, the private jets, the land. The idea that someone who speaks to struggling moms about budgeting and balance is also commissioning custom marble bathtubs from rare European stone. It's the duality that drives Joe nuts. Be relatable, but not too relatable. Be successful, but not so successful that people start asking questions.
You know, Michael, your list contains a can of beans, a used blanket, and a pillow found in a garbage can.
Yes, and a stick with a bandana full of my belongings.
Yes.
That's all I want.
That's all you want.
That's all I want,
Yeah.
Santa.
Yeah.
I looked at this list, and you know what wasn't on there?
Both Greg and Joe, in their own ways, cracked open a discussion many people were too hesitant to have. Because roasting Oprah is not like roasting your average celebrity. It's more like daring to throw a snowball at Mount Rushmore. You do it and people act like you kicked a puppy. But Greg and Joe care. That's what makes them dangerous. That's what makes them funny. That's what makes them exactly the people to take on the queen of the couch. As their individual takedowns gained traction, the public began to split. Some hailed the roast as long overdue. Others clutched their Oprah-embossed pearls in horror, but no matter what side they were on, no one could ignore it. The veneer had been scratched, the golden halo tilted, and suddenly Oprah felt a little less untouchable. Joe kept pushing with his podcast audience, diving into the weird psychology of Oprah's audience. He questioned how a nation of grown adults could still treat a TV host like a sage. He mused about how modern culture turns successful people into oracles simply because they smile a lot and own a book club. His theory: America didn't want a leader, it wanted a TV therapist with a shopping list. And Oprah filled that need with unmatched skill. Greg, meanwhile, leaned into the satire. He turned Oprah into a recurring theme, comparing her to political figures, tech moguls, even cult leaders. He joked that if Oprah started her own country, half of Hollywood would apply for citizenship before the borders closed. And somewhere deep down, you know that joke was not far off.
Sold, but Oprah sold it. I mean, she was one of the big ones, man. And
she was all in.
She was fucking 50 years old at the time. I mean, this is not a young woman who is selling this. How old is Oprah now?
75.
89? No, she just ran a marathon in 4 hours.
They both called attention to how Oprah's empire became a self-perpetuating machine. She could cry on cue, sell the tissues, recommend the book that explains the crying, then invite the author on her network to talk about emotional intelligence. It was genius marketing, but at some point, it became a performance. A very profitable one. The funniest part? Greg and Joe were not mad at Oprah. They respected her business acumen. They admired the hustle. But what they dismantled was the idea that she was above critique, that somehow Oprah existed in a dimension beyond scrutiny, where everything she said should be framed and hung in a museum. They brought her back to earth, and the crash was loud. Their roasts weren't just jokes. They were commentaries on celebrity culture, on how power, when wrapped in kindness and charisma, becomes harder to challenge. Oprah mastered the image of benevolence so completely that people forgot to ask questions. Greg and Joe just reminded the world that even the kindest billionaires are still billionaires. This was not about hate. This was not cancel culture. This was clarity with a punchline. This was two sharp voices asking why no one else ever poked the bear. And when they did, it was not a poke, it was a bonfire.
Shortly after the Oscars, a 3.9 magnitude earthquake rocked LA. The tremors were so powerful, Oprah's ass is still moving. Why would you laugh at that? That's fat shamers.
Whether Oprah claps back or stays silent remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the comedy duo just rewrote the way people talk about her, and something tells us this roast is far from over. And just when it seemed like the flames from that roast were starting to cool off, Joe Rogan tossed in a fresh log. Joe joked that if she ever accidentally said she liked broccoli on a Tuesday, grocery stores would sell out by Wednesday. He was fascinated by how Oprah's influence operated like a mood ring for the country. If she said she was tired of clutter, minimalist living exploded.
Yes. Right, which appears to be what Oprah's doing for Maui. It seems like she and The Rock just did that one video, and really, the people of Maui, they got screwed.
I anticipate a letter to the show saying, The Rock donated $20 trillion to the fund, and then you're going to have to apologize.
Oh, I will say I'm sorry immediately. It's like this thing in Maui happened, and then
still talking about Maui.
I am, because everyone just quickly moved on.
No, that's a good point, too. That is a good point. It is a story that kind of just faded.
So basically what you're hoping is at least she would have left them a pizza oven.
Yeah.
Right?
Ashley, save this segment.
I can't.
She felt like reconnecting with nature. Suddenly, everyone was out hugging trees and raising chickens in their backyards. Joe's point wasn't that these things were bad. It was that one person had too much sway over too many lives, with too little accountability. Now she managed. It wasn't leadership, it was soft dictatorship disguised as self-help. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld took a more surgical route. Again, he turned his attention to how Oprah turned pain into profit. He pointed out that for someone so connected to human suffering, she had somehow monetized every form of it. Childhood trauma? There's a segment for that. Weight struggles? Here's a diet plan and a memoir. Marital problems? Let's bring in a best-selling author who just so happens to have a book launching next week. Greg marveled at how every emotional moment in Oprah's world came prepackaged with a call to action. Watch this, read that. By now, he joked, Oprah could interview a goldfish and somehow end the episode by selling an inspirational aquarium guide written by Dr. Phil. And that was the genius of it. She didn't just sell products, she sold catharsis, and she made billions doing it. Joe circled back by focusing on the mythology that Oprah's always right, the belief that she somehow exists in a wisdom bubble untouchable by criticism. He roasted how some celebrities treat her approval like the final step before canonization. He found it bizarre how people who wouldn't trust their neighbors with movie recommendations were completely fine letting Oprah guide their moral compass. That, to him, was where the line blurred between entertainer and influencer, and where things got murky. What made both their roasts so effective was not bitterness. There wasn't any. It was clarity framed with wit. They weren't trying to take Oprah down, they were trying to drag her down from the pedestal. She never seemed to want to leave, and the funniest part, she put herself up there by convincing everyone. She was never above them. Joe and Greg saw through that, and they laughed their way right through it.